The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says activity, new listings and average selling prices were down last month as potential home buyers stayed on the sidelines. So for more on this, we're joined live again this month by TRREB's Chief Information Officer, market analyst Jason Mercer. Jason, always good to talk to you about this. So what do you make of November? It seemed like kind of just a down month overall, except maybe for listings.
Yeah, I think we saw a similar trend, that we've seen really throughout the fall and now moving towards the winter, that, sales continue to be down in comparison to the previous year. And to a certain degree, we would have expected the opposite because we've seen, an improvement in affordability in terms of, both mortgage rates and price as negotiating power has increased. But what we haven't seen is an increase in consumer confidence. So people looking at what's going on south of the border, to a certain degree, also our trade relationship with China are saying, how is this going to impact my overall employment? And so there's a lot of people that have every intention on purchasing a home, but they're still taking a bit of a wait and see attitude.
So Jason, with those sort of economic concerns and uncertainty about, potential maybe future employment, or just kind of being like, let's stick with this now until we have a bit more certainty here. Is there anything psychological, for example, about that $1 million average price that's now down to about $1,040,000 for in and around this area? If it drops below $1 million, does that say something about the market? Because it's been there for, 6 years or so right about now.
Well, I'd certainly argue that there's a lot of people that are on the sidelines right now that have been watching prices, trend lower. They've been watching, what the mortgage rate would be trend lower as well. And so I think, as every month sort of passes, there's a growing number of people that are saying, as I move into 2026, that might be the time to move into the market. As long as I'm confident that I'm going to, retain employment and hopefully see my income increase over time.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because a lot of people who are buying are already in the market, looking at the values of their own home, looking at that coming down too. I wonder how you see that as sort of, does that keep people on the sidelines too, thinking, well, I thought my home was worth this 2 months ago, now it's only worth X. Maybe I wait. But if you wait, you kind of wait for the market to go back and everything kind of goes up at the same time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like in terms of, why people are sort of taking that wait and see attitude, there is also the time that's required to kind of do that calculus, right? Yeah. Saying, well, hey, the market's changed, my home's worth this amount. This is kind of what I want to purchase. And so, what am I looking at? What's the delta there or change? What am I going to have to come up with? Is it lower? Is it higher? And so it takes a little bit longer to make that move in this sort of uncertain period of time.
And it's like you said, the thing you're highlighting here, which I find fascinating, is again, prices have come down, borrowing rates have come down, especially since the highs of 2022, et cetera. But the fact that, like you said, you were kind of surprised that things didn't pick up. Is it beyond the economic uncertainty, or really do you sort of attribute really all of it to just that people just don't know kind of where we're going in the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how much affordability has changed, like if you look at the peak of the interest rate tightening cycle, you're requiring over $200,000 in household income to purchase that $1 million home, and that's with 20% down. Now we're down to about $150,000, so that's a big drop off over a couple of years as interest rates have been trending lower, but yet people still aren't moving into the marketplace. And so I think the big thing is that the great majority of people are purchasing a home using a mortgage, and you got to be able to make those monthly payments. And so people will want to be sure they're going to be able to do so.
Right now, at this time in the market, Jason, is there someone that this market is advantageous to?
Well, I mean, certainly if you're a first-time buyer, say thinking about moving out of rental and into the housing market for the first time, looking at the condo market, which is often their sort of entry point, there's a lot of inventory there, which means you got a lot of negotiating power. So not only are you taking advantage of lower rates, but you're also able to negotiate a good deal in a lot of buildings.
Could we also talk about time horizon? Because we were talking earlier about, with somebody about, if you buy a home now and it's sort of like going to go down in quote unquote value in the next 6 months to a year. When you're buying a home, though, you're not buying a home typically for a year. It's a longer term investment. So should people really be looking at what their house is sort of valued at a year, 2 years, even 3 years after you buy? Yeah,
it's not the same as other investments. I mean, the great majority of people are purchasing a home to live in, and you're building equity over time, both in terms of, long-term price appreciation and also the equity that you're building just by paying down your mortgage. And so, it's a different mindset versus, buying, say, equities or bonds or what have you.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Jason, appreciate this. Thanks so much.
Very welcome.
We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care. Thank you very much.